So at the end of the last session, I talked that to make progress in the NCC project, it is also important to start to think about the way to manipulate consciousness without affecting on other psychological processes such as memory and attention. And as a sort of first step towards this, I'll discuss about the following thing, the effect of the adaptation. That's what I talked about. And then whether that depends on seeing the adapter consciously. So is there any kind of psychological effects on seeing something on the effect of adaptation? And then does the effect also depend on attending to the adapter? So that's a relationship between consciousness and attention as a first step. So let's go to the demonstration of the crowding first. Okay, so here I'm going to show a couple of demonstrations. So you see here two illusory lines, right? One is a horizontal line because of the offset of the diagonal line, and then another one is a vertical. Do you see this? I think I hope that you see it, okay? So now, as a demonstration, what I'm gonna ask you to do is to hold your fixation in here, green dot, okay? And then don't move your eyes. And then I'm gonna show something, either this vertical or horizontal kind of pattern here, around this part. And then try to press V or H for vertical or horizontal in the chat box. Okay, are you ready? Yes. Is everybody ready? If so, just type yes or Y. Y. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I hope that you're all ready. Okay, let's go. And I'm going to show it only very briefly, so you may not see it very clearly, but type V or H. Okay, 3, 2, and you don't move your eyes from green. That's important. 3, 2, 1, 0. V, H, H, V. Okay, one more time. One more time. Look at us here. 1, 2, 3. Probably it interfered with this one. So if you were able to see it, maybe with your display direct distance and also magnification, it didn't work, but it was indeed that horizontal in this case. Okay. So let's try it again, but now again fixate at the green part again. Okay, and then your target of report V or H is about this one, and you ignore anything else. Okay, let's go 3, 2, 1. V or H. Okay, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Or if you can't just see it, can't see is also fine. Okay. Chin says can't see. Don't move your eyes. And I'll gradually increase the duration of the stimulation. The longer you see, can you start to see? Yeah, hopefully, even if I show it for really, really long time, or knowing that it is vertical, if you look back the green, you probably can't see it. This is called crowding. Okay, it's like a masking, but in a spatial dimension. So because of the presence of this neighboring thing, no matter how you try to do, the neurons one potential explanation of why this happens is that the neurons that has this big receptive field contains conflicting information from the neighbors, like here, and that's why you can't isolate this vertical information. On the other hand, if you go back to this single stimulus situation, then if you look back, the green again, then you can still see, probably horizontal, maybe vaguely, right? So if you look at the stimulus there, in terms of the recognizability or recognition capability, we have it here, but depending on the context, depending on surround, you cannot see it consciously. That's one point, okay? So far, fine? I hope you got it. If you are presented with a surrounding stimuli, crowded stimuli, you cannot see it very clearly, consciously. However, if you do the following adaptation experiment, that's a weird thing happens. So let's see what happens. Look at the green dot here, okay? And then don't move your eyes for 1 minute. So I'm gonna start counting here. Don't move your eyes and then pay attention to the black area. Pay attention, okay? But without moving your eyes. And then what happens is the next thing that I wanna ask. So just look at the green things and then pay attention to the black area, okay? And then I'm going to show the next figure in a couple of seconds, okay? 3, 2, 1, 0. Did you see anything? One more time, look at the green. 3, 2, 1, 0. 3, 2, 1, 0. So eventually what I wanted to hope you to see is that this part of the area and then this part of the area will be differently visible based on the adaptation in the previous pattern. So the previous pattern presumably activate the neurons that respond to the horizontal here, but the vertical here. And because of the difference in the orientation, adaptation of this stimulus will make it difficult to see in this, subsequent horizontal one. But this one is okay to see. It doesn't get affected. That's the adaptation experiment here. It probably doesn't work in a display, but this is a kind of procedure of the adaptation experiment. The important thing is that with this experiment, you can use adaptation stimulus that is either visible here consciously visible or consciously invisible, right? And then the question is, let's say you believe this experiment, and then you're shown that with this horizontal adapter, after adapt to horizontal, and then subsequently you cannot see horizontal. Okay, this is a case of the visible situation. Then what do you think when you use this stimulus, the invisible adapter? adaptation to the horizontal, does it make horizontal later on invisible or what? So that's a question, Paul. So answer A is that yes. And then B is no. Yes, meaning that, it's basically the same thing, same effect as a conscious case. And then no is that, no, if you don't see this adapter, you don't get that after effects. And the C is, again, I don't know. Did you get the 3 AFC options? Or what was my 3 option clear enough? Okay, I hope that was clear. Okay, so now the answer is completely split, A and B and C. So the answer here is that the following. So this is the kind of the experiment that was done in early 2005. And then these people, Monteza Kozari and other person, did this, crowded illusory lines based adaptation experiment. So what they did was that after the fixation crosses here, that they, adapted this horizontal, orientation over 1 minute while flashing the other, part of the stimulus so that, no after image is generated. And then during the test phase, they showed only the either same stimulus or different stimulus, different orientation stimulus. And then they asked them to press the button of vertical or horizontal. And then what they found was that even though this one is invisible, so they tested the visibility of this, crowded stimulus in a separate session, and they asked them whether it was, horizontal or vertical. And then, as you guys also, demonstrated, when it's crowded, everybody was like 50%, chance performance. So the control experiment wise, this is definitely invisible. Now the critical question is this result. So if the adapter and test is different orientation, so it's a horizontal and then tested with this different stimulus, then perception percentage of correct is roughly like 90%. So they were able to see it. But if it was the same as adaptation orientation horizontal, like here, then it became very difficult to see. So this was caused even though these were invisible. Okay. And in this case, they didn't actually show it within this paper, but the level of the adaptation was more or less, the level of the adaptation was more or less the same with or without, awareness. But I need to actually check that. So with respect to consciousness visibility, the important thing here is that even if the adapter is not consciously visible, they can generate this, substantial effect of the after effect. That's the orientation dependent after effect. It's like motion or color version, but it's the case of the orientation. Okay, now for our next step of the question. So this has been kind of known in the 90s or 2000, but from here it's a 2000 or later 2000 kind of experiment. What happens if you withdraw attention while you are doing this experiment. So here, they asked to press the button when there is an or they ask them to count the number of the, let's say, black even number or odd white number or something like that, something that is requiring some kind of attention or memory in the fixation point. And then waited for 1 minute, and then they tested the adaptation. Okay, so what it means is that during adaptation, subjects paid attention to the center and they didn't pay attention to the adapter, which is invisible. So here is the question. What happens when they don't pay attention to the adapter? So the A is that now no adaptation. B is the same, because it was invisible, paying attention or not doesn't matter. And then C is intermediate. What do you think? So now it's not only invisible, but also subjects didn't pay attention. That's a difference from the last one. Do you understand the situation? If the option was not clear, let me know. Okay, so it looks like, okay, one more response. So just to recap the sort of the expectation. So answer A means that for this, invisible adapter to make a, difference in this, adaptation, if you are paying attention to the center, then there's going to be no adaptation anymore. So it means that the invisible adaptation requires attention. And then option B means that yeah, if it happens in with the invisible stimulus, that means that it happens automatically. So that means that attending to that or not doesn't matter. So that's a B. And then C is the intermediate, right? The answer is here. So this means that under the poor attention condition, this different or same condition difference became not significant. There may be something slightly different, but it's not significant. So this means that the effect of the adaptation depends on, the effect of the invisible adaptation depends on the availability of attention. Make sense? So this option A is supported. Only one person successfully answered. Any questions so far? That's fine? Okay, then let's move on. So the same thing actually has been reported also with the visual motion as well. So instead of showing this expanding thing, we can also show up or down kind of stimulus, and then manipulate its visibility by continuous flash suppression to the other eye. And then later on, we can ask whether the subsequent stimulus is moving up or down, and that's basically the same kind of adaptation experiment. And then same can go to, can be asked about the spiral motion or expanding motion or something like that. And then at the end, we can ask whether the test stimulus is contracting or expanding. And then again here, we can also make the stimulus visible or invisible during the adaptation, okay? Then what they found was, this is the work by my previous postdoc, is that if motion is a translational motion, this very simple stimulus going up and down, then depending on the adapter was seen or unseen, there is a difference in terms of response, but they both produce a huge after effects. So it means that there is an invisible component of the after effects, but also there is a visible component of the after effects. This is sort of similar to the after image experiment that I discussed last week. And then in the case of the complex spiral motion, then this was also the case. Both there is some kind of unconscious component here, 0.5 to 6, and then 6 to 8. So here the proportion of the consciousness dependent after effect is bigger. Okay. But the critical thing here is that whether it depends on the attention or not. So what Lisandro did was to induce this, attention task at the center. So pressing the button when there was number 3 happening or something like that in the fixation. And then when they did that comparison between attention with or without attention, then what they found was the following. So no load condition is the one that I showed just right now. With fully attending to the stimulus, there is an effect. But if you pay attention to the central task, then it also further reduces this, effect, both visible and also invisible after effect. And then this became non-significant, and this became also non-significant from the beginning. So in summary, what it means is that illusory lines or simple motion, complex motion can induce after effects even after adapters are invisible. However, this non-conscious adaptation requires attentional amplification. What does this mean? Well, at least what it means is that invisibility and no attention is not the same thing, right? Invisible and attended versus invisible and attended is different. So what does it tell us about the relationship between consciousness and attention is the one that we are going to discuss in 2 weeks from now. And I hope that you guys have a good luck with the exam. That's it for today. Thank you for coming. And is there any question?